go.
Welcome to Get Tied On. I'm Tom Amello. This is Michael Kipnis. We're on the Travers Week show, and we're delighted that you've joined us. This is our And Away They Go segment. We're going to recap the races, talk a little bit about favorites, track bias, trainers. A little later on, we'll be at the quarter pole. We'll talk about record keeping and wagering and accountability, which really we think is the most important thing in terms of being a successful player. We have a horse to watch from last Sunday and a terrific interview that we're presenting to you. VALET Harry Rice.
Yeah, tremendous.
Tremendous.
One of probably my favorite interview of the meet.
They've all been great, and we really appreciate it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Alabama card during the gallop out, some of the off-the-turf decision-making, and some of the repercussions from all the rain, the off-the-turf. What are the solutions? Are there any solutions? There was some person who says, well, I might as well just move back to New York and skip Saratoga, but we're not ever going to do that. So, Michael, start off, and away they go. 38% favorites through August 20th. Sunday was a light day, only one.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean the second choice isn't winning. A lot of these races, 2 horses, 2-1 or less. If the favorite doesn't win, the other one wins. And, it's been chalky and short.
Well, a lot of small fields.
Absolutely.
For sure. And I think we surpassed this week, or on Sunday, the most races ever taken off the turf.
Well, I don't know if
it's 50.
50 was the number I think they talked about for 2018. I think we either hit that threshold or we're heading through it.
Yeah, that's just amazing. Just think about that. 50. How many races are there in total the whole meet?
400 and change.
So like what, 23% of the races that of all races off the turf, but this is turf races scheduled. I mean, when they go back to Belmont, there's going to be a 9-race card, and it's going to be all turf.
Yeah, because you got horses ready to run. Track bias. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, there was an intense bias on Saturday. If you weren't on the lead, you weren't winning, and that only enhanced the chances of randomized the winner of the Alabama, which we'll talk later on. But that was definitely a distinct bias. The strongest speed favoring track all meet. It was a drying out surface.
Right.
It was cuppy. Your horses from behind were getting a lot of kickback. And if you weren't on the front end or close to it, you were getting bupkis.
Yeah, we'll talk about that randomized rate. Hot and cold trainers. Michael Polk say you can play this game, you can win this game. What we're going to do is take the top 5-10 trainers, top 5-10 jockeys. They've got all the best horses. They're riding the best horses, and it's true. 38% of the winners from the 293 races were the top 7 trainers. 6 jockeys have won 57% of the race. Now, 293 includes the jumps, by the way.
Right.
And those guys aren't riding or training the jumps. But you're talking 57%, right? Flavian Pratt, excellent on the turf, having a great meet on the turf. Junior Alvarado, we had a great interview with him, but he hasn't done well on the turf this year. 1 for 28.
Yeah, but he's won a couple races on the dirt this week.
Right.
Castellano has been off. He's only rode about 11 winners. Saez is riding great. Gaffleone is riding great. Irad's going to win the title, if nothing.
Yes.
I mean, Irad, Chad Brown is going to dust everybody. Linda Rice just ran out of the bullets, and couldn't reload fast enough to keep up with them. So, but the disappointing, look, the guy's winning 20%, so it's not an awful meet. But Todd Pletcher, with the stock this guy has, won with Pirate as a first-time starter, maybe another one. But, to me, a lot of favorites have gone down.
Right.
Okay, so he's been a bit of a disappointment, and I don't want to say it in a real negative way because he's won 20%.
Of course.
But he really is third best this meet, and
So
a
far.
distance third. And I also want to say, we wanted to talk about that last week, is that some of the best handicapping plays are to stay away from dead trainers. You stay away from Robertino Diodoro.
Yep.
You haven't cashed a ticket with that guy, okay? You only cashed a ticket with Horatio De Paz one time this weekend. He was something like 0 for 27. Yep. So when guys are cold, the hot trainers are the hot trainers, but until they win a race, you can't pick them.
No, you can't.
And it's a great angle.
Absolutely.
Let them win one and
Yep.
let them burn you once, but don't chase them.
I have a question for you. How many mounts Johnny Velasquez has? Take a guess.
How many mounts? I wouldn't say a lot.
Well, come on,
okay.
mentalist, give me a number.
The mental case says 35.
63 mounts.
Okay, 63 mounts.
8 wins, 2 for 29 on the turf. He's not riding by appointment. He's hardly riding.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously he's in the twilight of his career.
Yeah, and that's not to knock
he's
his
still
ability.
He still could ride.
Right.
If he's on a horse that's live, I'm not holding that against him.
That's right, but
for sure.
he hadn't been on too many live horses.
No, he hasn't.
And we want to give kudos to who do you think is the leading average mutual rider so far?
The leading average mutual
high
rider.
average mutual rider.
Franco?
No, we were going to interview the clan.
Oh, Katie Davis.
Katie Davis.
Katie Davis.
19, almost $20. She's, I used
How
to.
many winners does she have this meet?
I've got it down here. It's not double digits for sure, but the point is that, man, I used to make some money with Robbie Davis riding for the Sedlacek clan, Sue Sedlacek, Mike Sedlacek. He was a great, better than odds rider, and she's following Pop's footsteps.
I walked into the track one day this week.
Yeah.
And I was like tired. I was sort of like sleepwalking into the track.
Yeah.
I run into Katie Davis. She doesn't know me. I don't know her, but I know it's Katie Davis. And I run into her, and I think it's my 10-year-old granddaughter.
Yeah.
Like they're similar size.
Yeah.
And then I just wake up from my sleep and said, how the heck does she ride 1,100 pound as well as she does? Because she is small.
She rides for Ray Handel in the Delphi stable, and I know that she's part of the greet and meet crew for a Delphi club at the barn. And our friend Richie Cristiano says she's cut like Junior Alvarado, and so she's a strong lady. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this segment. We'll be back shortly with At the Quarter Pole. This is Get It Tied On, brought to you by WizardRacingSports.com.
Visit WizardRacingSports.com and purchase now. Since 1986, the Wizard has been your source for the best handicapping products for the always challenging Saratoga meet. Wizard selections include analysis and wagering strategies for every race. Wagers are updated after late scratches. The Wizard wagers every day, backing up his opinions with his own money. Visit WizardRacingSports.com and purchase now.
Well, we're at the quarter pole here on Get Tied On, and it's time to talk about wagering, accountability, record keeping, and betting angles. Where do you want to start?
Well, I keep as you've seen my book, every day I keep a record of every bet that I make, my wins and losses, my picks, my top selections and best bets. And it's so important to do that as the rain comes and comes down. I'm not winning this meet, okay? I'm picking more top winners, which is ironic, than I've ever had. I have over 100 top winners, and I'm losing money. And I say to myself, how did I do that? How am I doing that? It's the reason is I'm not hitting those exactas, or I'm missing one leg of the trifecta, or I'm hitting 4 legs of a pick 5 or 3 legs of a pick 4, and I'm blowing the top winner. Now, a perfect example, we both loved a horse on Sunday.
Yep.
That came in from Maryland, from Colonial Downs, off one race.
Memorialize.
Memorialize, and won and paid $14. Had a low number, but the number was meaningless with a 2-year-old first-time starter, and I don't trust the turf numbers anyway. But the trip was ridiculous. So here I have this 6-to-1 shot that we both had.
Yeah.
I make a win bet on the horse, but 75% of my money is attacking exactas and trifectas. A dead first-time starter on the board, a Chad Brown, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
the one horse, that's 11-to-1, that took no money, splits me out, and I get nothing on any of those exotic plays. I've had so, between that and the nose defeats. So I have to go home at the end of the day, right?
We all do, yes.
And mark that down. Mark how much money I bet, how much money I lost, my top winners, and my best bets. I'm losing because I'm not hitting those, but I have to. I have to have a short memory. I first have to know. I'm not going to lie to myself. I need to know what the figures say.
And I want to stop you here, Michael, because that's the point of this conversation. Accountability to yourself. It's said another way, you're like a major league pitcher who throws a home run ball. He's got to forget. Take the ball and throw to the next batter, right?
Or
you
a
gotta
quarterback
let it go.
that throws an interception. In order to be good at anything like that, a performance game, you have to just realize you're going to make mistakes. Things aren't going to work out, but you have to know what your record is.
Because it's the record that proved to you that over time, because this is a marathon, not a sprint, that things hopefully and usually will even out.
And what's the beauty about it is, like, I'm down a few $1,000s, and I'm going to have a hit soon. And let's say that hit is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Back in the game.
It's going to take as much as that you have the pain of writing down the defeat, you have the thrill of the victory.
There you go.
And you could feel that because if you don't keep your records, everything is just, you don't know. You can't have that feeling, the same feeling.
Absolutely. And so we'll pose the question, do you have a book or a spreadsheet or a program in which you keep track? Or if you're betting through ADWs who provide analysis of your bets, do you take a look at it? Are you taking responsibility and holding yourself accountable? Because that's the way to be successful in this game.
And also, those ADWs, they'll print out your reports for the different types of wagers you make. And maybe you're not so good at pick 4s and pick 5s, but you're really good in exactas.
I'm a win exacta bettor.
Okay.
And that's it.
But you'll know it.
I know
because figures don't lie.
No, they don't.
Only people.
All right, let's go to next. Betting angles. You were talking about the fact that a couple of opportunities or situations emerged where you could make a move.
Well, one of them in particular, and it's really important that when you go to Equibase or the NYRA website for the late changes and take down every change, especially a jockey change. On Thursday in the 10th race, there was a dead giveaway of a horse that was going to be live. And it was for a trainer that is really not a known trainer, James Begg. Right? So now they have this Gutierrez is listed, and it's a late jockey change to Irad Ortiz.
To whom?
The leading jockey in New York. So he rides the 9th race, and I'm sure he's anxious to get home and have his rib dinner, right? But he stays around to ride a James Begg horse in an off-the-turf maiden special weight 5.5.
Yeah.
And he gets on the horse, bingo.
Goodbye.
7-to-1 or whatever it pays.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, you want to make sure you get those changes, you know, after the scratches.
Because what you really don't want to do is see him cross the wire and say, I didn't know anything about that horse, and take a look and go, oh.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Well, that's going to be the end of this segment. When we come back, we've got a horse to watch to talk about.
Yes.
And this is brought to you by WizardRacingSports.com.
Got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's a guy that says if the weather's...
We're back. You're still tied on. We just rocked a little bit.
Sorry about that.
We're still tied on. And this is our horse to watch segment. Wiz, we both like this horse too.
And we were both together. Like, it was one of those, we kind of slummed it on Saturday together, you know, out of my office. In the office, right?
In the
office
grandstand.
Together.
It's a great day.
Yeah, and we spent part of the day together, and we both loved a horse in race number 7 in the Lake Placid, a grade 2 stake. And we both loved Surge Capacity.
Yep.
Okay, if you watch this trip, with Surge Capacity runs second, how much the best was that
my
one?
goodness. I mean, he was trouble after the gate. He was trouble into the first turn. He was in a good position on the rail. Then he sort of got stopped, had to angle out, lost a little momentum, and was finishing full of run. The other horse had a perfect trip.
Making only its third start. Chad Brown had, 7 horses out of the 9 horses? I mean, Chad Brown had a few horses in that race, and this was the one that was 9-2.
Yep.
Both of us were salivating on this one, and we just turned to each other and said, this is the meat. This is my meat, you know.
Well,
sinking my teeth into this one. Ton's the best.
Yeah.
This horse is going to win a stake.
And I want to say this: Surge Capacity is a son of, I think that's a filly. Is the Lake Placid were they fillies?
Yeah, filly.
Yeah, they're filly. Well, Flintshire, and trainer Kerry Breon spoke very highly about the Flintshires, and I mean that's one of the reasons that I like this horse the last time it ran and was sticking with it. So pay attention to Flintshire as a sire. And pay attention to Surge Capacity going forward.
We'll never get 9-2.
Not the next time. Well, we'll be back shortly with our interview section. And this
is a good one.
And this is Harry Rice, the VALET.
Down the stretch portion of our interview, and I'm here with Harry the Valet.
Right.
Now, it's a pleasure to have you on, because this show, I wanted to do something where I wanted to honor everybody in our industry, no matter who you are, because every job is important. And when Tom said, we got to put Harry the Valet on, the first thing I thought was, well, I know the guy that parks all the cars and gets a lot of money parking the rich guy's cars. Not a bad interview. And then he said, no, Harry the Valet.
Right. No, I'm a valet.
Okay, so explain to the audience, like, the difference between a valet and a valet.
Well, the old timers told me years ago, valets park cars.
Okay.
We saddle horses. So my job, I'm hired by NYRA to ensure that the proper weights go on the horse, and also to assist the trainer in saddling the horse.
Okay, so this is really like surreal to me, because I never met you.
Right.
I never even knew, I knew there was a valet, right? I didn't know it was Harry the Valet, right? But what's amazing is I've seen you in every picture, like every race, basically, or many races, since 1987.
Right.
And I'm like, I know the guy, but I really don't know the guy.
Yeah.
So how the heck does a Harry the Valet become Harry the Valet? Like, let's go back. We're both New Yorkers.
Yes.
What were you, when you were a kid?
I grew up in Staten Island.
Okay.
And my father was a pressman for the New York Times. And he started here as a Pinkerton. He used to be the Pinkerton in the winner's circle. So I used to come up
He's the guy that kicks people like me out.
Yes, exactly.
Because I come in with, it's the wizard, I got short pants, he says, out, come.
That was his job.
Okay.
But then I used to come up here for the summers, and I'd work as a white cap, one of the ushers. So first year I worked up here was 73, and then in 76, I graduated high school in June of 75, and then in January 76 I started full-time with NYRA, and I've done a little bit of everything.
Okay, what was your first job?
The first job was I used to drive the patrol judges around in the car, because that's when they used to have to drop them off at certain parts on the track, and they climb up in the stands. Now mostly it's all they watch on TV.
In the booth upstairs near the press box, right? Yeah. Kind of on the side of the press box.
Then for a few years I was Louis Ola's assistant in the color room.
Okay.
And he was the greatest. I still remember colors all the time because he taught me how to do it.
So that's the guy that has all the silks.
Right. He was a legendary guy. They named the color room after him. You know, he was great. And then 1 year up here, I kid around, I said I was Quasimodo. I rang the bell before the race.
Okay.
For the 17 minutes to post.
Okay.
That was the saddling bell.
That doesn't exist anymore,
yes,
right?
It does.
It does?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
You know, and then I took care of all the equipment in the paddock for a little bit, and I've been a valet since 1988.
So for almost as long as I've had the sheet.
Yeah.
That's why I've seen you every day since then, and not really knew who you were, but always saw you. So explain to the viewers exactly, like, what are your responsibilities from the beginning of your day of being a valet? Okay,
so by working for NYRA, we also have a chance to have like a private business working for the jockeys, taking care of their equipment and all their saddles and so forth and so on. So when I get into the track, I usually get there around 8 o'clock in the morning, and whatever jockey I was working for at a certain time, I'd lay out all his clothes, get his silks ready, his helmets ready. You try to make everything as easy as possible for them because they're in a very stressful situation. And, you know, because once it becomes post time, it's nonstop.
So are you representing more than one jockey on a daily basis?
Yeah, sometimes you can work for 2 or 3. You know, but you have to, if you have a fella that rides a lot of races, it's kind of tough, especially like this season, it's been muddy. You have to really hustle to clean things up.
So how many jockeys are in the colony here in Saratoga?
Up here, I'd have to guess pushing 35, 40.
So then you would say there's like 30 valets?
No, there's only 14 of us.
14 handles everybody, because some don't ride that much.
Right, and saddling and all that. But then when the day starts, we have to go and make sure that the proper weight that's assigned to the horse is in the saddle and with all the equipment. And then we go to the paddock and we assist the trainer, saddle on the horse, and nobody can touch the saddle besides us until after the race. The jockey takes it off, goes back to the scale, and the clerk of scales gives them the okay that the proper weight was carried.
Okay, so explain to the viewers, there's a saddle.
Right.
The jockey weighs 110.
Right.
He's supposed to carry 122. So there's 12 pounds that has to be added.
Yeah.
How does that done?
Well, they all have 4 or 5 different saddles that weigh different weights. But like 122, majority of the guys would have a big saddle with some pockets in it that we could put pieces of weights to make it up to the 120, 122. And that also includes the saddle pad, the rubber pad we put on, the girts, and so forth.
Has there, I mean, it's human error, I guess, sometimes that, do you go over or under a lot?
And then the clerk of scales will tell you, all right, take a pound out or add a pound in and all that. So it's a very good check system.
So they wear, you're responsible for getting their boots ready, right?
Boots, clothes, helmets.
So the silks person, right? Is the silks person delivering you for your rider the silks for that race?
Well, he has a rack that he puts the, like say we have 10 races, the first, second, so forth and so on, and then he hangs the colors up, the 1 horse, the 2 horse, the 3 horse. So you know who your jockey's riding, so you go there and you pick the colors out.
So every race, it's a different rack.
Right,
It's not
right,
like it's,
right,
it's just,
yeah.
he brings
Oh,
out
yeah.
the rack, you know?
Definitely.
You know, like a clothing store.
Yeah.
He brings out the rack. Where is this rack?
It's
Like-
right outside the color room. If you go through the color room in the back, you'll see it's on the right-hand side.
So you get who is your rider? Who are your riders this meet?
Well, now, you know, I'm getting near the end of my career, so I'm not hustling as much as I used to. But Mike Luzzy, I have Mike Smith when he comes in from out of town, Naz Alvarado when he comes to Finger Lakes, Andre Worry, he shows up, Oscar Gomez,
so these are
E.T. Bad.
So
Yeah.
these are kind of fringe guys that come
Right,
in.
they come in and out for the stake races and all that.
But backtrack to when you were in your prime, when it was
Yeah.
prime.
Prime time, I had my first big jock was Gene Kruger.
Okay.
I worked for Chris McCarron, Corey Nakatani, Mike Smith, Frankie Dettori when he comes. Who else? Rajiv Mirage, who's an excellent rider. Alfredo Smith, Ariel Smith. There's, you know, I've worked for so many throughout the years. You know,
Which jockeys have made a lasting impression on you just because of the people they are and just the, you know, the connection that you might make with them?
well, you know, you get very, very close with them. You spend more time with a jockey than you do with your wife, because you're in the room all the time. And I've been fortunate enough to work for real good guys. So Mike Smith, he's part of the family. Gene Kruger, I talk to all the time. Luzzy, Rajiv Mirage, he's kind of stepped away from riding now. He has a business in Jamaica, but we talk all the time. Chris McCarron, Nakatani was up here for the Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago. My whole family was up for that. Frankie Dettori, my kids were over in Royal Ascot and seen him this year. I mean, I still keep in touch with 99% of them.
So you're in the jockeys' room,
Yeah.
right? And like the jockeys are all there. Where are you sitting? Are you like sitting next to them? Like where do you hang out?
There's 14 workstations. Each valet has his own workstation. And it consists of a bench and a bunch of little boxes, almost like a cubby, like the little kids in kindergarten. But we stay there on the bench and we talk, we watch TV, watch the replays, everybody interacts. That's what makes racing so special. It's that it's the only sport that the competitors are in the same locker room.
Right. I had mentioned
know?
that on a past show.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And right. There's sort of like a camaraderie. You know, they're comrades in battle.
Right, because their life depends on each other. You know, because if you do something silly out there, you not only might not hurt yourself, you could hurt somebody else. And
of course,
you know, and it's good. You know, like another fella I forgot to mention him, Randy Romero, who was
great, tremendous.
and I mean, one of the toughest guys you ever seen. The injuries he had throughout his career.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. So you get the jockey gets dressed. You're there helping him getting everything ready. He comes out out of the jockey's room.
Yeah.
You follow him out?
No, we go out ahead.
You're ahead.
Yeah, we go out. Usually we go out around 20 minutes to post, and the jockeys usually come about 15.
And you're heading to the scale, right? You're heading to.
Well, we go to the scale first, and the jock weighs.
Okay,
So
that's right outside the jockey's
so
room.
the Kirker scale says, okay, the weight's good. Now I'll go over, and if I was assigned to the one horse, I'd take the one horse saddle, go out there, saddle the horse, come back, and then I'd go to the track afterwards, wait for him to come back. He gets off the scale. He gets off the horse, goes to the scale. Kirker scale says the weight's correct, and I bring it back.
So now I'm getting the clearer picture of it. So the valets are in the stall when the horse gets saddled, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're actually not only dealing with the jockey, you're dealing with the trainer.
Right, oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, the trainers you have a relationship with too.
yes.
Because you have so tell me if this is how I see it. You put the saddle cloth on, right?
Well, you put the rubber pad on first, and then you put the saddle towel on, and then if there's a weight, if you need a lead pad, if you put that on, then you put the saddle on, and then I'll hand the undergirt to the trainer. He'll hook it up. I'll tighten my side up, and then there's an overgirt that protects it just in case something happens with the undergirt, that it doesn't slide or do whatever.
And then, so the rider comes out, the rider's out in the middle, right?
Right.
And the horse is saddled, right? And it comes out of the stall and is in the walking ring, right? At what point, now where are you at that point?
I'm on my way back to the jocks room to start getting things ready for the next race.
Okay, so at that point, before it's riders up,
Right.
you're heading back.
Right.
Okay, so the race is on, right? You've saddled the one horse.
Right.
You're at your TV, right?
No, because I'll be in the winner's circle watching the race from there, because right after the race I have to go to the one horse and take the saddle off and,
I see.
and all that.
So you're going back in.
Right. Do a little work and then out.
And then you're coming right out.
Yeah.
And then the race is run. The race is over.
Right.
And you meet up with your
right,
horse.
Right, exactly. That's why, as I said, the minute they say check for the first race, which is usually like 20 minutes, 25 minutes before the first, it's nonstop until after the last race. You know, the people, you sit and oh man, there's 30 minutes in between races, such a long time. There's so many things to go.
And now it makes, because people say the game is too slow.
Right.
And it needs to be sped up more. But now what you're talking, there's things that have to be in place. I mean, there's not only do you got to get them ready, but now the horse has to warm up. So on the track, you can't just put the horse in the gate.
And they got to harrow the track in between races. And the logistics of Saratoga, the horses come over from the assembly barn on the backside, have to walk all the way over. So it takes time to get things going.
So you've seen so many people in your career, trainers, jockeys, grooms, everything. And I want you to tell a couple of great stories that you remember, but I have to always ask you about one trainer, because he's my favorite of all time, okay? One trainer. And what your experience, because I loved him, was Alan Jerkins.
I knew that was coming.
My favorite trainer.
I like to find the one guy who didn't like him.
No, there is none.
None.
There is none. There is none. Bar none. I've been in the game playing it from the 60s as a kid. Really got into it in the 70s and started professionally in the 80s. Number one all the time.
Yes.
Okay.
And did more for the people on the backside than you ever know. He took care of everybody. But I just happen to have one of my favorite stories is with Lady Secret. Remember?
Trained by Wayne Lucas.
No.
Lady Secret.
I'm sorry, Sky Beauty.
Okay, Sky Beauty.
Sky Beauty. So we're at Belmont, and Mike Smith used to ride Sky Beauty all the time.
Right.
So I'm sat on her, and I think she carried like 131, 132, something like that. So the chief used to like to put the heavyweights up on the horse's shoulders, on the withers, because that way it takes a little weight off. But God forbid if she stumbled a little bit, the saddle could go forward. So Mike says, make sure you don't put it too far forward. So I go there, set it all up, I put the saddle on. He puts it right on the withers. So I go to give him the undergirt, and I shift it back a little bit. He goes, what? I said, I'm sorry, my hand slipped. So he said it again. I did it again. And he looked up, and he could be intimidating. And he goes, you work for this jock, don't you? So I said, yes. He goes, okay. So he said it. I told him, you got to win, because he could throw a temper tantrum better than anybody.
I've seen him throw tantrums. As great, biggest heart you'll ever find on the racetrack.
And to be over and done with it right after the temper tantrum.
Right. I've seen him grab Noel Winter by the neck, right, and basically just grab him, and I thought he was going to kill him. The horse was well meant. He messed up the ride, and I've seen jockeys Because he used to put on these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, like these guys that never rode a whip.
I remember, it's well, I guess on these websites we can say a little off.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a guy, Gene Ho.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. And he he ended up being like the king of West Virginia or something.
Okay, right.
But he rode a horse here, Don't Get Caught. He blew the turn, come on the outside fence, just got beat like a head. So I go out, I just happen to sat on, I'm going to take it off. He goes, well, now I know where they come up with that saying. So he goes like, what? He goes, ride like a Chinaman.
Yeah.
But the next day, well, that's when they used to have next day entries. Gene Ho was right back on the horse, like,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
him and Cadero him and Gene Kruger used to fight all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a guy, John Ruane.
Right.
They'd really go at it.
Right.
They'd fight back and forth, but that was his main guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about Angel Cordero.
Angel Cadero, probably one of the nicest guys you want to know. Toughest competitor. Would do anything to win. Like they said, he used to ride 2-3 horses a race. But always nice, always, one good story with my father was at Aqueduct, and some guy's cursing Cadero out in Spanish. So Angel gets mad at my father, says, you got to do something. So my father says, what's he saying? Tell me what he's saying, and then I'll go get him. And he told him, and after that, him and my father become very good friends. But he's still around. He's just a real good ambassador for the racing.
Do you ever meet any of the agents?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you one of my best friends in the industry, and he never bet until I told him to bet, and then he'd bet whatever I told him to bet. Vic Gilardi.
Oh, Staten Island guy. Staten Island guy. Very friendly. I was very friendly with Vic.
Great,
yeah.
Tremendous agent, right?
He had Chavez for a while, but
Johnny Velasquez.
No, George Velasquez.
George
Velasquez.
Right.
But he was sharp. He was very
everything was done on cocktail napkins and a pencil.
Yeah.
He didn't even know from a computer.
Right. No, him, Ralph Dero Sr. There was some cast when I first come around. There was Joe Shea, that he started Richie Migliori off. Lenny Goodman, who Bradley Baeza, Steve Corton, all those guys. Fats Wisman, that was Jacinto Vasquez. He'd be screaming at Jacinto all the time. There was some cast of characters. They were good.
So we're the same age, and we've been in the game the same amount of time, basically, as professionals.
Right.
How has the game changed, the modern game now, to when we grew up in the game back from the mid-'80s?
I tried to tell management here in NYRA that it's not the same as these. They hire people that come out of colleges or business world. This is a whole different world. Not only is it your livelihood, but it's your life. They have guys work in the morning, galloping horses, work as mutual clerks in the afternoon, do this. It's their whole life. And now all they're worried about is dollars and cents. And it's terrible. They've taken we used to have parties all the time and everybody got along. There used to be a great softball league in the back. Then they switched to soccer. I don't know if they still have it over at the rec center. A good soccer league. But all they worry about is the bottom line.
And first of all, there's none of the characters that we grew,
Right.
The Damon Runyon, kind of guys. They just, we're the last of the Mohegans.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing, it goes away. I understand what they're doing because it's a different generation, and I don't agree with a lot of it.
Right.
If they took the picnic tables out of here in Saratoga, it's over. It's over.
Exactly.
Because they're ruining the family experience, but it's changed.
Yeah, and well, like you said, we're old school, but not for the better. And they don't care about the better either, and that's the guy who makes the money. You look at the programs now. $7 for a program. They used to have simulcast them in them, and you used to be able to hang around and bet Del Mar and stuff like that. I don't know if you can do that anymore.
No, I don't see it in the program.
Right,
the
right.
post parade
Remember they used to have all that stuff.
It would be really big. It'd have
Right.
5 different tracks.
Right.
You know what's crazy is, Harry, they show the races
Right.
from different tracks.
Yeah.
But they don't include the past
Right,
performances
exactly, yeah.
from the tracks.
So how are you supposed to find out?
It doesn't make sense at all.
No.
Do you bet occasionally?
No, because we're not allowed to. But I mean, on the Derby and stuff like that. I like to go to Monmouth on a day off and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and all that.
Me and my wife would go to Monmouth all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like that was one of our favorite trips. Go to Max's Hot Dogs in Long Branch, and then go to Monmouth. we loved it. You know?
It's such a nice place. But and then I was lucky enough. I went to Keeneland once. That's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, we've gone there too.
Santa Anita. I've been to a bunch of.
So you're a you when you're not working, you enjoy
Right.
the races.
Yeah, I watch all the races from Finger Lakes everywhere.
Did any guy, any trainer, or any jockey, like say to you, Harry, I love this horse is gonna freaking win,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
And most of the time, are they right or wrong?
Well, Eddie Alcaro said the best job would be the bookmaker in the jockey's room. Because you've been galloping your horse every morning, so you like yours. I like mine, so forth and so on. So that's it. But I'll tell you one story up here with Mike Smith. He told me it was the year of Arrogate. So he come in to ride a couple of races, and he won. So I said, "You coming back to ride the Travers?" So he says, "Well, if I come back, I'll ride the right one for Baffert. Everything will be okay." He goes, "And I'll win the sprint race." I forget, a real fast sprinter, won for fun, and then we all know what happened with Arrogate. But he said, if I'm here, I ride that horse, can't get beat.
I would say, of all the performances that I've ever seen on the racetrack in a big race, Arrogate is close to the top.
Yeah.
You agree?
Definitely, especially the one in Dubai.
Oh, yeah, that was unbelievable,
Yeah.
too. I'm going to give you a race that is, to me, one of the best performances I've ever seen, and you'll remember it. And I talked about it on a previous show. Forgo.
Oh, yeah.
It was the day of the Marlboro
Yeah.
Cup. Remember how the track was sloppy? It was disgusting, right?
Right.
Heliodoro Agustinas had been riding the horse.
Right.
This time, it was Willie Shoemaker.
Right.
He was carrying, do you remember the weight?
Was it 140?
138.
138. We had to send 2 guys out because he only weighed 95 pounds.
Yeah. Oh, it was the show with Migliori
Yeah.
that I talked to him about that. And I have a picture that the MIG sent me of him at 16 years old being handed the Eclipse Award for Apprentice. And he's a skinny little kid, tough rider. Like tough.
I know he told you a story about it when he broke his neck. The second time, when he went in and the doctor says, "You broke your neck again." And he says, it's the scar tissue holding it together. So he says, "Okay." He says, "Listen, I got to go to Chicago to ride a race. I'll go ride it on Saturday, and then we come back and you can operate on Monday." The guy says, "You're not leaving. I can't believe you walked in here." And he was going to a chiropractor, an acupuncture. The guy could have stooped and snapped his neck.
I know. The guy was as tough as nails.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one of the toughest riders I've ever seen.
Well, that's going back to Randy Romero. When he fell for Go for Wand, he broke 6 ribs, got up and rode the next race.
Are you kidding?
And then he flipped in the gate in Florida that winter, and he broke his elbow. And he come back, and the screws were coming through the skin, and he was firing the screws down. So he rides for 2 weeks. He says, "My arm is killing me. It's killing me." So he went for an x-ray. His arm was broken here, but they never knew it because they looked at the elbow. And he was flipping back. The bone was going back and forth.
Oh, that's unbelievable. If you could be the czar of racing, run the whole game, what would be the one thing that you would want to change?
The one thing I would do is, like I said, get back to, it's the sport of horse racing. It'll take care of itself. And look out for the people that run the sport, and the sport will run itself fine. There's too many regulations. I agree there should be national regulations, drugs, licensing, and all that. But
Uniformity across the board.
without a doubt.
What other sport doesn't have a commissioner?
Right, exactly. But there's too many state-run organizations, and I guess there's too many people on the payrolls, and it's just a shame.
And pay more homage and more respect for the gambler.
Right, exactly.
Because it's the gambler that pays everyone's salaries.
Without a doubt.
Without us,
Right.
there's no game.
Right.
These executives would be baristas in Starbucks.
Here, as I said, and I don't like to keep harping on it, but a guy comes, you go to races with $500 for the day to bet, you and your family. So it costs you a couple dollars to get in, a couple dollars for the program, you have a little something to eat, maybe you spend $75. Okay, you got $400 to bet. Now, up here, you go to the track, it costs you $25 to park, 2 programs, that's another $14.
$15 for a beer.
Right. $10 to get back in, so there's another $20. $15 for a beer. Now you're down to about $250 you're spending, and you don't have the handle. And the handle is the one where they make their money, because they keep churning it and all that stuff like that.
Who would go to the racetrack at Aqueduct in Belmont?
Right.
Well, no one goes. It's
No.
a empty cave. I mean, it's
the handles up. The people are betting
from their home.
Yes, but and that's why they let everybody in for free and all that. And you just have customer appreciation or something. The other day when they had to cancel that race because of the power outage, say, listen, I'm right here. Everybody who's here. You get a coupon for free admission.
They didn't give anything?
No. Well, they said, nothing. Because
they used to.
Right.
I remember them hand out coupons at the end or something.
Right. If they canceled or something. But here, just a good here. Thank you. We're sorry it happened. Here you go. So they missed one race. So you give free admission for a day.
That day they lost 3 or 4, right?
No. That was the Saturday or Sunday before. When they canceled with the rain and all that.
Right.
Friday, that was a Friday.
Right.
They canceled the last 4 races.
Give them something.
Right.
Give them a free hot dog and a half
right.
off
That's
a beer
all,
or something.
People appreciate stuff like that.
Why do you think Vegas is popular? Because you don't pay for parking, you don't pay for a drink, you just make some bets, you get a program for $1.
Right.
That same $10 racing form is at $2, right?
Yeah. I mean,
they really have to do a lot more.
Like you said, you have to take care of your clientele.
Right. Harry, the VALET.
Right.
I appreciate you coming on the show. You've been a
thank
great
you.
guest. It's people like you, the reason Tom and I do this show.
Yeah.
Because you're the unsung heroes of this game. Believe me. And now I really know who that person is in the paddock that I've seen for 39 years.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that unsung thing. My unsung hero is my wife, because she's put up with me not being around. And we raised 2 nice kids, Megan and Harry, and the real Megan and Harry, not those ones from England.
Right.
But,
were they named after them?
No.
You were the one. They named it after your kids. They were named after your kids.
A quick funny story. We're at some kind of thing for my son's christening, and the priest wanted to know all the names and all that. I said, well, my wife picked out Megan, and I said, my son's name is Harry. You could figure that out. I got thrown out. They said,
you got thrown out?
Yeah, they broke for coffee. She says, you can go home. Yeah.
Harry,
my pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Visit wizardracingsports.com and purchase now. Since 1986, the Wizard has been your source for the best handicapping products for the always challenging Saratoga meet. Wizard selections include analysis and wagering strategies for every race. Wagers are updated after late scratches. The Wizard wagers every day, backing up his opinions with his own money. Visit wizardracingsports.com and purchase now.
Welcome back to Get Tied On. Tom Amello, Michael Kipnis, brought to you by wizardracingsports.com. In case you missed it It's Travers Week, and Michael, we got a 7-horse field. Let's just casually walk through the field. Forte.
Winner of the Jim Dandy, unfortunately for me. I felt he should have come down, but the blinkers certainly put him in the game early. Obviously a talented horse, major contender.
Arcangelo, the Belmont winner.
A great job by Jenna Antonucci developing this horse. A worthy winner of the Belmont Stakes. Castellano had his choice, right, between Arcangelo and Mage, and went to
Well, there was some discussion that it looked like he had a choice, but there was some time dragging or dragging, and the decision was sort of made.
Is that right?
By Saez,
Okay.
to Saez.
So Arcangelo improving, dangerous rival.
And this is the first time you've had a Travers where you had three different Triple Crown.
Right. That's some intrigue for this race.
Yeah. Okay. Tapit Trice.
Mage, right? Mage.
Oh yeah, Mage. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, winner of the Derby under a great ride. Then Preakness, dull third, right? Not a great third. Haskell, second?
Yeah. Good prep.
Good prep. A nice horse. Certainly a contender.
Tapit Trice.
Been a bit of an underachiever, makes a nice move, loses his focus. I'm just not sure that he is at the level of the three we mentioned.
Steve Asmussen has Disarm.
I've been chasing this horse like you have.
That's
right. I don't know. I done chasing, I think.
Bob Baffert sending National Treasure. You think he'll be on the front?
Yeah, I think so.
If randomized race is any indication of what's going to happen in Travers, it seemed like Bob Baffert got on the phone and said, Chad, put him on the front.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't call him on that one, okay? Even though Chad referred to him as a great friend and thanks for the advice. Everyone knows if you speed, you're going.
Yep.
Baffert will go, and this horse will go as far as he can go.
And Scotland's got speed, too.
Scotland, is that the horse that's trained by Mott?
Yeah.
Ridden by Alvarado? Yeah. That horse had a useful prep
that's
here.
Right.
That's an improving horse. I wouldn't not consider that horse at least underneath.
And win or a race over the track is always important. More important to me than working over the track.
Randomized. Pops up again.
Oh, hello. Okay, so now let's go to the off the turf issue, and all these races that we lost. It's not an idea of cutting slack. I'm a retired high school teacher, and one of the hardest decisions a school superintendent makes is whether or not to keep schools open when there's ice on the road, because if there's one thing he doesn't want to do is put a school bus in a ditch. And there's a part of me that says that when it rains and the turf courses can get less safe, and it's very difficult to really prove that they're more or less safe, that this is a difficult decision that no racing office really wants to make and has to really labor over. The weather has forced them to make many decisions.
Yeah, what I don't understand is some of the days this week where they kept a lot of the races on the turf, some of them, like a couple of them later in the card, they took off the turf. Right. Now, if they deem the turf course safe for running other races, if you're a 35 claimer or a maiden 40, are you not good enough that you're not deemed good enough to run over a turf course that they consider safe for the other races?
Well, you're asking the question, what are the criteria or what are the rubrics? What is it that you gauge that says, all right, we're going to let them run here and let these horses run here, we're not going to let those? Nobody has a clue, at least we don't have a clue.
And the thing is, there's two turf courses. Right. There's the inner and the melon. They have the rails, so they put the rails out and in. They move it to, protect the turf course. So you have options. You're looking for bettable races, which creates handle, right?
Lifeblood.
And, we've had so much this meet of diminished fields, small fields, less handle, less uninterested races. When you take a race off the turf, you're getting all these scratches, and some of these races, they've been a 2-horse field and 3-horse fields.
Yeah, so you mentioned the word scratches. I have a question to which I have no answer. So I open up the Path Performance. It's a turf race. There are 16 entered, 4 or 5 main track onlys. Okay, they take it off the turf, and I go open up the NYRA scratch thing, and half, and sometimes all, of the MTOs scratch out, and they get the track they wanted. I don't get it.
I don't get it because I also look to see if any of them are vet scratches, and most of them are not vet scratches. So why is a trainer entering main track only and then scratching? They should not be allowed to scratch. Like
in my opinion, yes.
There should be a rule that if you're going to enter a horse, unless it's on sound, right, by the vet,
of course,
then you have to run. Like you can't, and believe it or not, there's a couple that were trained by Chad Brown.
Right.
And like, what are you making special conditions for a trainer that's got 100,000 horses? Like, because he wants to wait for a better spot? Like, what is, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
On the other side of that, there was a race taken off the turf. I think it was the one that was switched off the turf while they ran them on other ones. And both Brown and Pletcher had main track onlys. They got in and they ran one too.
Right.
So
right.
you know,
I just don't understand. Like, if the turf course is deemed safe for the day, because you're a maiden 40, you're not good enough. You're not deemed quality enough to run on the turf. Doesn't make sense.
All right. 2 more points here. One, with all the races lost to the weather and coming off the turf, there's now the clamor and the shouts for removing one of the turf courses, putting in a synthetic track so they can run full fields on the wax. Any thoughts?
There's a difference of opinions amongst people. I'm not of the opinion of a synthetic track. I never know how to deal with it that well. I think we have enough problems handicapping dirt and turf, and yeah. I don't know. I just, maybe over time I get used to it, but I don't know.
I don't like the idea, and if the Gulfstream meet is any indication, it's not a popular surface. People bet it. Don't get me wrong, because if you run a race, somebody's going to bet it. But I've read and heard from many handicappers who prefer not to handicap and play synthetic. Okay, the last point here. We've talked from time to time about computer-assisted wagerers, their influence on the pools, how the horse leaves the gate at 9-2 and gets to the wire at 5-2. Well, we've got a different situation for you today, Michael.
Well, all of us have seen or been involved in
the pool pilfering.
Yeah, betting a horse and then not getting the price we thought we'd get. And we watch it go down around the far turn and past the finish line. Or if you didn't watch the price change, you thought 3-1, and how did it pay 6-5?
There you go.
Okay, so we see that in Twitter, and we see visuals of it.
Yeah.
But this one was amazing to me, because on Friday at Del Mar in race number 4, I played a pick 4, so I'm actually watching the race between puttering around, right? And it's a 5.5 furlong, 20 claimer, non-winners of 3 life. And there's 2 favorites, and one of them was 2-1 at the time, and the name of the horse was Santos to Wilson.
There you go.
And it was vying for favoritism, staying steady at 2-1 as the horse is loaded into the gate. Everyone's loaded. He breaks out of the gate, and he runs off about 40 yards. He gets handled, right? And he's taken back, examined by the vet, and allowed to run and put back in. Now, as he's being loaded, he goes to 5-2.
From 6-5.
No, from 2-1 to 5-2. Okay, people are, the worst thing you want to see
your horse
is breaking through the gate. None of them ever win.
Right.
Okay, so within about the next 30 seconds, it goes from 2-1, 5-2, 3-1, 7-2, and 4-1. In 30 seconds, it's right in front of my eyes, right? So what's happening is you're not having like hundreds of thousands of people go in and take out their $5 and $10 and $20 bets.
No.
The computer guys are yanking their thousands out, putting it on the favorite, right, that now goes to 4-5 or something. He's from 2-1 to 4-1 in 15 seconds. What happens? He wins the race. And they get mud in their face. But it just shows you how fast these odds change. You know, I don't know where they're situated, if they're directly into the pools,
Right.
but here was not putting money in. It was
sucking it out.
sucking it out for everyone to see.
I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that, you know, I was sitting home. I was not watching NYRA Racing. I'm a specialist. He's the mentalist.
Right.
Anyhow, I get a phone call, and Michael is I'm going to say dazed and confused, to say the least. He says, "You don't want to believe this. They sucked their money back and raised the price and got screwed. What
Yeah.
a country!"
Yeah, I would love to have been the one on the receiving end of that 4-1 shot, because all us players are never on the receiving end.
No. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this show. We hope you've enjoyed it. It's brought to you by Wizard Racing Sports.
And getting cranked up for sports.
And yes, there are two things we want to say. I want you to give them the email for feedback. Please.
Okay.
All right. We are interested in your constructive criticism and comments. You know, we've done this for 6 weeks. We've enjoyed it. We've seen some wonderful comments from folks, and we appreciate that. But we're looking, if you would like to keep us to keep on doing this, let us know. And
Instead of giving my email address, let's give your email address, because you actually look at your email more than I do.
No, send it to your website.
Let them send it to you.
Okay, send it to...
Because we'll know we'll get it, and we'll
Okay.
hear about it.
Okay. Send to, it's TRK, facts, TRKFACTS at NYCAP.RR.com. And boy, I guess it's going to get filled up.
Well,
boy,
look at your emails.
Did I get swindled here?
Well, I've looked at enough hate mails this season. But anyway, I also have a sports website. I don't do the sports.
Right.
I have a guy that's fantastic. He's been with me 3 years. His name is Doc Allen. We're focused in on college and especially NFL football, which is the key to everything, the king of all betting sports. He hit 60% or more the last 3 years. He almost won the Circa contest.
Yep.
We post every ticket. Tell them about that.
Okay. Well, bottom line is Michael bets every bet that he and Doc Allen give out, and they post the ticket on the website for the good, the bad, and the ugly. So when he makes a $500 bet on a football play, if he hits it, he'll post it. If it goes down, he'll post it. No one else does that.
No one has the balls to do that, okay? They just don't have the guts. And everybody's aware. Everybody hits 75, 80%. We stand by our record. He's great. We're starting to sell the packages now for this month and season. And the guy, nobody works harder than this guy. And if you like sports, the guy has a great track record. And it's worth looking into. Just visit the site and just read about it.
There we go. Well, this is the end of Get Tied On. I'm Tom Amello. He's Michael Kipnis, and it's brought to you by WizardRacingSports.com.